Hi, and welcome to City Beat. I'm Beej, your host, Recreation Coordinator with Lewiston Parks and Recreation. And today we have City Manager Jim Bennett on. How are you, Jim?
I'm just great, Beej. Good to see you.
Good. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate taking some time out of your schedule to hang out on City Beat. So thank you. Appreciate it. I get a lot of questions down at the community center, and one of them is, how are we so lucky to have such an amazing city manager?
Well, you know, it's really great to hear that kind of feedback from employees, although I know this is a little bit tongue-in-cheek. I've been doing the business of being a city manager for many, many years, and so I've got a lot of experience to bring to the community, but I'll tell people here, what I've told people since I got here, this is the best city I've ever worked in, the best job as a city manager I've ever had.
So that's saying something.
That's saying something, sure is.
How long you been in the business of city manager?
Oh, since about 1986.
So 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah, a few years.
Which is weird because I was only born 5 years before that. Anyways, so can you talk about the big stories that are going to go on, big things that are going to happen in 2013 for the citizens?
I think there are, we're going to see a lot of new commercial and economic development in the city this year. We have a lot of new things on tap. Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories just took out their permit for their new building. That's their second 100,000 square foot plus building up at their site there off of Nez Perce Terrace. We've got Gold's Gym going into the Walmart facility. We've got a number of new businesses taking off all across the city. And I think we're on a pace to set or match our record of a couple of years ago as far as commercial development. So I think we'll see a lot of new opportunities, and that means new jobs for the community.
Yeah, and that was going to be my question. What does that mean for the community? What does that mean for taxpayers?
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of new jobs, particularly, for example, at SEL, and all of these new commercial ventures are going to have a significant number of new job openings, and these are family wage good jobs in the community. And you know, that also puts upward pressure on the housing market, and that's one of the areas we need to improve on in Lewiston, is to kind of diversify and improve our housing stock.
How does that impact our community and citizens and viewers every day on a day-to-day basis?
Well, more choices for one thing. You know, more retail opportunities as far as doing shopping within our community. It fattens the paychecks of a number of folks within the community who find employment within Lewiston, and it increases the overall tax base for the community so that we have more dollars overall to do projects that are important for the community.
Which is always going to be a good thing for development in the city of Lewiston. So those are all very positive things. Big project that is continuing is our library. Can you talk about the library a little bit?
The library is going full gun. It's on track for opening this spring, probably in the late spring. Of course, most people know we recently got a very generous $1 million donation from Ed and Beatrice Schweitzer, a personal donation, because of their commitment to the community and their belief in the importance of education and technology. So that's going to go a long way to making our new library in Lewiston one of the finest probably in the state of Idaho.
Can you talk more about what's involved with that $1 million? I know that the Schweitzers don't necessarily want the debt to be paid down with it. Can you just talk about what that $1 million means to the library?
You know, they've said that one of the things that persuaded them to make their donation was because of they believe that the community itself should step up and help to fund projects like this. And in Lewiston, they've done a tremendous job of that through the Library Foundation, of getting private donations that now far exceed any public monies that have been put in to the library project. So, you know, that $1 million is going to go a long way to making the new library a marvel of technology. That's one of the things that Mr. Schweitzer, Dr. Schweitzer, said, was that he wants to invest in the technology to make sure that it's state-of-the-art and that those kinds of opportunities are available to the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Shifting from the library to the airport, can you talk about plans that are going on at the airport here for 2013?
We recently completed a major waterline project that serves the airport area, particularly the south side of the airport, along Southport Road there. This is an area that we've tapped for future economic development that would be associated with the airport. Businesses that depend upon general aviation and on the commercial traffic that comes in and out of the airport. And, you know, we can look forward to, now that that water line is in, being able to extend the infrastructure back there for these new businesses to develop. And, you know, we've estimated that there could be as many as 250 jobs, new jobs associated with the development of that area. So that's going to be going forward this year. We're already working on a marketing plan for that area to encourage new businesses to develop there.
Can you talk about city budget? What's it going to look like for the rest of 2013?
Well, you know, we have kind of a funny budget year. It starts in October and runs through the end of September the following year. So our new budget will start in October of this year. But we'll begin working on the new budget probably next month. It takes that long to gauge, you know, what our projected revenues are going to be for the rest of this year and see what we're going to have going into next year. The budget process will be difficult. You know, the economy is still not recovered fully, and we do see signs that unemployment is easing finally in our area, which is good, and that jobs are starting to pick up. So that's a good sign, but we still have a lot of financial issues to deal with. The state legislature is considering the elimination of the personal property tax, and that would mean a significant reduction in the amount of revenue that the city of Lewiston receives, even more so for the Lewiston School District and for Nez Perce County. All those have to be taken into consideration to see, okay, how much do we really think we're going to have available to do important city projects as well as maintain a high level of services.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That could be significant to
It could be.
The function of the city. Can you, you know, being, you know, a year and a half right into your tenure here, can you talk about what your favorite things are about Lewiston?
Boy, there are a lot of them. The weather, for one. I've been coming out here for a number of years to visit family, and the weather has always been, you know, one of the really enticing things about this area. And the recreational opportunities, Hell's Canyon. I've made a jet boat trip or two up the Hell's Canyon, and I'm an avid fisherman, and this is, you know, this is well suited to, you know, my recreational preferences. But, you know, we kind of hide our light under a bushel here in Lewiston. A lot of people don't realize what this community really has to offer in the way of recreation, in the way of weather and services and economic opportunities here. I keep thinking that we're poised to, you know, to be at the beginning of a new era of growth in the community. But one of the things that's really struck me about Lewiston, and I've seen it in other communities, but nowhere to this extent, is the generosity of the people, the amount of volunteerism within the community, where people are willing to go out and give their time and give their money and you know, the sweat of their brow to help others and to do good things in the community. One example that just floored me this last year was the Boys and Girls Club, which is just such a tremendous job in Lewiston. But at their annual auction, they raised over $300,000. I mean, that's just amazing for a small community like this, and that's just typical of the attitude that people here have.
Absolutely, that's astounding. Actually, that's awesome. Good job to Boys and Girls Club for that. We still have some time left. Can you tell the viewers, just talk about what the city manager's office function? What does your office do? What is the function of your office?
Well, Lewiston's unique in the sense that there are only 3 cities in Idaho that have what's called the council manager form of government. That's where the council hires a professional manager to come in to manage the day-to-day affairs of the city. Twin Falls and McCall are the other two cities that have that form of government. So, I've described it, relatively simply. I manage each of the departments and work with each of the department managers, from the chief of police to the Parks and Rec director, community development director, fire chief, you name it, to develop policy for the city and to basically help them to do their jobs. That's my job, is to keep everything running smoothly, to act as a intermediary between the council and the departments, to implement the council's policies. That's one of the chief things that the city manager needs to do. Is the council sets the policy and the city manager figures out how to get it done. And so I spend a lot of time working on those kinds of issues for the city council, as well as trying to make sure that I'm representing the interests of all the employees.
In essence, this form of city government, has its own checks and balances, with citizens voting for city councilors, and the city councilors hiring you, and so everybody's accountable to everybody. So, I think being only 3 cities in the entire state that do that, I think that's a good practice for our valley, for our citizens here in Lewiston. So
it is. I've been involved in that kind of government arrangement for many, many years. And our national professional organization that I belong to, ICMA, has preached, the benefits of professional city management all across the country. And I think it really does pay off when you have the opportunity to have somebody who's got the expertise and who's been trained specifically to deal with city issues on a regular day-to-day basis.
So before we end our segment, is there anything else that you would like to share or talk about the city or your function or your position?
Well, we were starting to talk about projects. There are a lot more projects that we could discuss that are going to be happening in the next year or so in Lewiston. One of the big ones is fixing the flooding problem in downtown. We've received 2 grants from the Federal Emergency Management Agency that will help us to build a new storm drain system in the downtown to eliminate the significant flooding that's occurred there over many decades. That's going to be just a tremendous benefit to the downtown area by getting rid of that problem there. Plus, we'll be working on Snake River Avenue. We're going to be completing a project down there next year at Southway and Snake River Avenue to improve the traffic flow from that area there. Southway, as it's being developed, is getting more and more traffic all the time. And so that's another significant project that we'll be working on. And we'll be working, with each of the departments on their budgets, which will be really important this year to determine what kinds of things are the priorities for this year. Because you can't fund everything. You have to, budget wisely. You have to make the best use of the citizens' tax dollars as you possibly can to meet the most immediate needs, but to also have some foresight as to what are the important projects down the road for the community. Community park is another big one. A lot of people think of it as a community park, although it's actually called Community Park. It's this huge piece of property out on Warner Avenue that the city's partnered with both LCSC and with the school district for the development of additional recreational and potentially educational facilities out there. We've already got a great trail system out there that many people don't know about yet. We're working on putting together a cross-country course out there. And of course, eventually our goal is to build some ball fields out there. We'll be proceeding with some projects to provide a sewer line to that park this year, to do some more road work for the park this year so that there's access into it. So these are all big projects that have the potential to have big benefits for the community.
Absolutely, and being a Parks and Recreation professional, I get to hear about that development every day with our Parks and Rec Director, Tim Barker. So it's fun and exciting to kind of be a part of that process of development and budgets and projects, all that stuff. So we are out of time, Jim. So I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to visit with us here on City Beat. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Beej. I had a great time.
Good. Thank you.